Sad. Welcome back, South Drama. The YouTube stream is back up. I made a new one. We might not get through. We'll see how much stuff here. Let me activate the new chat. Okay. Surely they won't take me down. Take me down again. We back, boys. We are.
Know their past life? Do you know?
Wait, so when a
crime, do you know where in what country?
You realize,
track of them? No, you don't, because they don't take any of that data when they come here.
Listen,
they slap a name on them and they allow them.
You realize when a violent
crime
is committed, it's likely.
Yeah, but most of the time they're let go because they're undocumented, so it doesn't go on any criminal record. So those statistics are actually very smeared.
You were trying to say that most people are let go for violent crimes. That's not true.
I know what Adam is citing too. The only state that like it keeps track of like the status of immigrants, whether they're documented or like undocumented when they get arrested or whatever, is like Texas. So like I know like everyone uses the same data from Texas to do these studies or whatever, and like there's a ton of controversy around some of it. Like you can go through and read like the back and forth between the Cato Institute and the Center for Immigration Studies and their different interpretations of the like same data from Texas, and it's like there's only like 42 people they even have data on.
When a violent crime occurs, somebody necessarily will likely report it, right?
But I mean, to be clear, it's basically wrong. We do have some data on it.
So when it's reported, that goes into the overall stats. When they do the arrests, it shows that undocumented immigrants are way less likely to be arrested.
Because they are not being caught. They are not being documented. They are undocumented immigrants. They're illegal. They're committing a crime by being here.
So the burden of proof would be on you to prove that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at 2 times higher rates.
And they went through the legal process of becoming a U.S.
Okay, incredible. Okay. To avoid getting copy striked again a bit, the only the part I was mostly interested in this section, rather than watching people scream about that stuff, is this kid who Adam Mockler also talked to at the UFA event. He was the like unrealized capital gains tax would be disastrous and destroy all investment in the US guy. So I'm just curious what they talk about here. His information was not in the description, unfortunately, so I don't really have a way of reaching out to him, which sucks, but we'll see what he says.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is you mentioned Howard Stern. I think there's some really important context to note when we talk about Howard Stern, which is that show was in the early 2000s. They always tried to egg their guests on to be extremely edgy and say things that would basically stir things up. And so with that context in mind, that is not an actual admission that he did it.
Well, what about the fact that 4 15-year-old girls said that Donald Trump walked in their dressing room when they were part of his beauty pageant?
I mean, whether or not that's true, I want to get to a larger point here. Okay, so if that is
true. And you
condemn
it.
Come on, bro.
If that is true.
Certainly, like in the context of girls saying he did it, like you should take the fact that he also said he did it, even if it was on a comedy show, as some evidence. Like
then
Donald Trump said it himself.
Again, he said it,
and then 4 women corroborated.
And we have to understand even more. I don't know the context of that. So if that is true,
would any context make that okay?
I want to ask.
No context would make that okay. That's power dynamic abusal. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I haven't looked at evidence, so I need the evidence. But I want to ask because I think this question really is about a larger immigration policy. What immigration policy are you supporting with this?
I support on the highest level an immigration policy where people come into the country legally.
I don't even know why. You shouldn't even engage with this. You shouldn't even engage with this. You shouldn't even do it. You should be like, I don't know how to express this frustration. Okay, but if you're sitting there defending Trump, it's like I don't think it's my like burden to like lay out like a somewhat comprehensive immigration plan, like even if it doesn't have to be like the most detailed thing. Like I shouldn't even be like my burden when I'm like talking about this. It should be your burden when you're defending Trump to like defend the deportations, several of which have been ruled like unconstitutional, right? To defend all the ICE raids. Like you should have to defend what is actually happening. Like I shouldn't even have to like engage in a question like this. Trump was on camera saying he wanted to date a 10-year-old girl in 10 years. True. He's said many weird things about his daughter as well. Every Trumper I've talked to has defended that. Yep.
Where we know every single person who is in the country at all times, because we don't want undocumented people going around, and a way that we can have people be competitive in the labor market for immigrants to just integrate into society in a solid way. So I think there's a way better way.
Oh, what's up, Uncle Fatty? I've never heard of that. I'll have to do my own research. You just heard it. I'll have to do my own research. This is me for real. You're a cult member. Okay.
To do that, then number one, what Trump is.
I guess I'm a cult member.
He's acting crazy.
So now I want to also ask, do you support welfare?
Do I support welfare?
That would be like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm Milton Friedman. You can't have a welfare state with immigration.
To an extent,
So
not for illegal
here's
people.
what I want to get to.
Yeah.
Illegal immigration, or in this case, you want it to be legal.
Legal, ideally,
yes,
yeah.
They would all collect on welfare, and if you look at it overall, it would be a
Source? I think if you look at like legal immigrants in the U.S., they seem to disproportionately like not be on welfare. I guess like in fairness, some of that might be, but I think even if you try to separate out for like low skill immigrants, it seems to be the case that they're not on welfare any more than U.S. citizens. And even like permanent residents can't access some benefits that full-blown citizens can. Now, you know, a lot of full-blown or like a lot of permanent residents or like green card holders and people can access some amount of welfare benefits. But I think even if you try to separate out for like lower skill immigrants, they're like not disproportionately on welfare or anything. But I could be wrong. It could just be total immigrants, and that might be explained by only accepting relatively high skilled people legally.
a net drain
That's not
on the
true.
economy.
That's not
yes,
true.
that is true. And studies
But also, it doesn't necessarily follow that if they collect welfare for some amount of time that they're like a net negative for the economy.
have estimated against it do stuff like estimating that every 1 out of 9 has a graduate or PhD, which is just blatantly false.
That is not true.
I would know that, but I feel like that's in terms of legal immigrants. I was talking about illegal immigrants. I think that's roughly true. Most major economic analyses, including those from the CBO and National Economy Sciences, conclude that immigration boosts the overall size of the... Okay, this is not useful. However, low-skill immigrants often cost state and local governments more in services than they pay for taxes in the short term. Whoa, incredible fact check that we got there.
A few things. Every single study on this topic shows that when immigrants move to the country, especially when they're higher, when they're PhDs as well, they increase more, they give more in taxes, they give more in building. Then what about Giovanni Perry's 2016 study saying that when immigrants move into the country, that they are a net benefit? Can you cite a study of the opposite?
Oh no, he's citing the spatial measure of wages. Oh no, he doesn't know that if you look at the compositional effects that you actually see negative effect. I don't even think
they increase saying that when immigrants move into the country, that they taxes, they give more in building. Then what about Giovanni Perry's 2016 study saying that when
2016, no, he did cite the year. Giovanni Perry is like a number of he's a number of papers on the topic. I believe I probably have that downloaded. Maybe not. Oh no, I do. Is this 2016? That's 2012. 2006. I guess I might not have his 2016 paper downloaded. Damn. But he's probably citing, there might just be a updated version of this. I believe he's citing probably an updated version of this. Using such a general equilibrium approach, we estimate that immigrants are imperfect substitutes for US-born workers within the same education, experience, gender group because they choose different occupations and have different skills. Moreover, accounting for a reasonable speed of adjustment of physical capital, we show that most of the wage effects of immigration accrue to native workers within a decade. These two facts imply a positive and significant effect of the 1990 to 2004 immigration on the average wage of US-born workers the average wage of U.S.-born workers overall, both in the short run and in the long run.
Immigrants move into the country, that they are net benefits. Can you cite a study of the opposite?
I can cite theory. I can cite economic theory.
You asked me for a study. You can't cite one.
No, there's
They can't. They don't even cite Borjas anymore, bro. They don't even cite Borjas anymore. They just have theory.
Study by the Heritage Foundation.
Can you
But again,
the
the
Heritage
studies.
Foundation? So are you saying
Heritage Foundation.
most of these studies are talking? Are you saying that legal or illegal
No, I'm talking
immigrants?
about the policy that you're trying to back is going to cause a
So,
net harm on the
wait,
economic future.
what's your prescription? You want no legal immigration to the country?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so what's your prescription
You
then?
can't have mass migration and welfare at the same time. You have to choose between the two. Otherwise,
Whoa,
you'll be a net drain on the
whoa.
economy.
That's
This
not
has been
true.
well noted through economists like Milton Friedman.
It's
And
not true.
Yeah, how do I know that one?
Yes, it is.
You've been animated by the
That was good. Thanks.
Okay,
What's up? Good to meet you, man.
we'll see if we can get away with Kai section 2.
I'm Kai.
If we could talk about stuff I care about.
Adam, I think I like what you're doing rhetorically. It's a very interesting strategy.
Where do you disagree?
Well, I disagree in large degree with the framing. Would you agree with the framing that a child is probably safer off with the average illegal immigrant than with Joseph Biden? I think that's what the Republican claim. Perfect. Now that we've agreed kind of that the framing is
Well,
not
maybe
more
not
so-
safer. Can you point to Joe Biden being friends with prolific sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein?
Absolutely.
Wait,
I mean, there's a web of connections.
Wait. Did Joe Biden have girls groomed out of his Mar-a-Lago spa? Did Joe Biden have 26 different
I don't think Biden was personally friends with Epstein, right? I think he was the one sexual assault allegation against him, but I don't think it's.
sexual
I don't think it has Epstein allegations, right?
allegations? Or did Joe Biden say that he grabs women because they let him do it? Any of those things?
Well, it's interesting
I'm
because
not
the
even here
lines.
to say that Joe Biden's perfect, but I just think that equivalency is crazy. I wouldn't want my daughter around.
Okay, I don't know if they.
Let's-
I don't care about
let's
this
it's
shit, bro.
significant. There is a power there in the value that the study has concluded with. Let's say.
Okay, wait, I might care about this part.
Illegal immigrants is crazy. The way that we assemble those statistics is absolutely ridiculous. And if you were to take, let's say, what's the sample size in your study? How many illegal immigrants were included as a part of the
It
study?
was in Texas from 2012 to 2019. I don't know the exact sample.
Let's assume it's over 1,000.
I believe it. I think it's like literally 40. I think it's 42. Or I think it's that's not the size. That's the number of undocumented migrants in total. I think. I don't think it's there's also control groups and stuff, but and native-born people. But it's not that big.
Listen, it's statistically significant. There is a power there in the value that the study has concluded with. If we have 1,000 Donald Trumps, which of the two will have been more guilty of violent crimes?
Wait a minute. You want to do this? If you have 1,000 Donald Trumps versus 1,000 undocumented immigrants,
One group will have committed violent crimes, the other
the
will not have.
statistics show.
That's true.
No, the
That is
statistics
true.
show.
Which violent
that
crime
Donald
has he actually been convicted of?
He was held civilly liable of sexual abuse, sexual assault. Number one, but number two, when you take 1,000 people, you take 1,000 undocumented immigrants,
You
versus
haven't-
1,000 Donald Trumps. The statistics show that those 1,000 Donald Trumps will abuse way more women. 26 versus the average undocumented immigrant commits violent crimes at a 2 times lower rate than the native-born citizen. Donald Trump
interesting.
commits crimes at a higher rate than the native-born
That's
citizen.
interesting.
Now you see what I'm doing?
CIS identified 54 illegal immigrant individuals convicted of homicide in 2015, 46 by PEP, and 8 imprisoned by TDCJ. I don't remember what these acronyms stand for, but this is the Center for Immigration Studies. Like I said, there's a whole big back and forth between them and Cato. That was substantially higher than the 46 that I identified through only PEP. That difference was close enough to increase the illegal immigrant conviction rate. Blah, 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 blah. But basically, I know the CIS was double counting. Yeah, CIS made a worse mistake by double counting some illegal immigrants convicted of homicide, because there was like some of these people are entered in the database twice or whatever. But this is 46. I thought it was 42, but it might have been 46. Damn. Oh, the actual number is 43 without double counting. Damn, fuck. With literally one off. 43, goddamn. Yeah, in fairness, not a big sample size or anything, but Texas is the only state where they have that kind of data, so that's why everyone uses it.
Rhetorically, absolutely. Okay. I do see what you're doing, and what you're doing is trying to remove the effect of the crime from the actual people who are affected by it, which is why you're saying, well, Donald Trump was in a room with you. The issue is when you analyze the difficult, or rather the amount of crime that these illegal immigrants are actually perpetrating, and when you compare it and say that blanket statement, right, that they are less violent than the average native-born American, you're not comparing it individually to each group. The levels of crime, the rates of crime among groups in this country differ significantly based on where you are and based on what the group is. Would you say?
That's why I said average. That's why I said average.
We're doing the race realism. I can feel it coming.
Someone was held civilly liable of sexual abuse, immigrated to the country legally.
You understand?
No.
Well, no, I don't think so. No,
But you have to be the president.
You're not engaging with the statistic that you brought up at the beginning.
Okay.
And again, the framing that
Because you're saying that
the framing that you are providing, if we were to be statistically consistent, would say that with the average illegal immigrant, you are safer than with the average Black American. Would you agree with that framing?
With the average illegal immigrant, you're safer with the average Black American. Yeah, because Black Americans commit crimes
At a disproportionate rate.
No, yeah, sure.
Whoa,
Okay, so
clip
framing
it.
can significantly shape the way that we engage in these conversations. I don't think every Black person is going to kill me, but there is a disproportionality around it.
But the thing is, not every immigrant's going to abuse you.
I
But
100% agree.
every one of those 1,000 Donald Trumps will abuse their power dynamics. Absolutely. Donald Trump throughout throughout his entire life.
And none of them will commit violent crime.
Donald Trump throughout his entire life is somebody who has abused every power dynamic available to him to prey on girls. Would you let your daughter in the Mar-a-Lago spa if it were 2001?
No,
racism, I know. Cancel him.
Trump's Mar-a-Lago spa isn't safe.
You're drawing these equivalencies between a property that an individual owns, what occurs on that property, and a condoning of it by that individual.
About it. He said he likes him young. He was talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
That is an absolute false
years
equivalency.
later,
Okay, show me how do those two comments relate to each other?
When Donald Trump said in 2003, Jeffrey Epstein likes him young.
I'm looking for a clear consistency.
Okay, let me finish. Donald Trump says in 2003, Jeffrey Epstein likes him young. That happened, right?
Wait, what is that?
Wait,
what
did
is
that happen? Let me finish. Did that happen?
Sure.
Okay, 3 years earlier, Virginia Giuffre was groomed out of his spa by Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump held private parties in the 90s where him and Jeffrey Epstein, just those two, had 20 calendar girls. You can look this up. I hope there's one on screen.
Were any of them
calendar
14?
girls? Okay, what about the 15-year-old girls that Donald Trump walked in on in his dressing rooms? I mean, no one here.
Again,
I've had 3 people say they wouldn't let their daughter around Trump. 3 people say they wouldn't let their daughter around Trump.
I wouldn't let my daughter around Joseph Biden.
That's
again,
fine. I'm not defending Biden.
You don't have to defend a thing. You haven't staked out a position. You've easily admitted that once we change the framing to talk, for example, about things that are more relevant to the average American. For instance, the average person who is living in Texas, right? The way that these people are going to feel the effects of migration are not as an average. There is no cookie cutter average American. I understand.
That's not it. I mean, in fairness, the prompts are stupid, but you should care about the averages when it comes to policy.
That's why I'm citing the study.
It's the highest immigration state. Yeah.
Here's the point.
That was really good, man.
Appreciate it, man. Likewise.
Incredible.
Great to meet you.
Okay, I don't care about that or fucking rest of this shit. What's he claim?
It was a good debate, and I won.
Left in the United States is far more fascist than the right in the United States.
How do you define
Oh my god. Okay, mate. He triggered me. Maybe I want to watch.
fascist?
Yes, we'll start off with that. So I define it as one that wants totalitarian rule and aims to establish that by dissenting, forcibly opposing views.
How do you define totalitarian?
I'd say authoritarian,
I mean, think like
totalitarian, just like one party rule.
Okay, so how does this describe
I do feel the averages. I feel the averages because my brain is wired in numbers. Okay, I don't even think you should grant. You shouldn't even grant this definition.
totalitarian?
Totalitarian rule and aims to establish that by dissenting, forcibly opposing views.
How is that different from just totalitarianism?
You define.
So I defined it as one earlier is that the left in the United States aims to establish that by dissenting, forcibly opposing views.
How do you?
I don't think that's just any different from just totalitarianism. Like, fascism usually includes, some type of nationalism, militarism, right? Some type of, racial or ethnic supremacy arguments. And those are just things that you don't really see on the left at all, but you do see on the right, and increasingly so with people like Fuentes.
Define totalitarian?
I'd say authoritarian, totalitarian, just like one party rule.
Okay, so how does this describe Joe Biden or any Democrat more so than the person who denied elections, more so than the person who is literally indicting his political opponents? We can talk about the indictments. Do you think that?
Yes, I was going to say, let's talk about the indictments.
I would love to talk about that.
So you brought the 3 sets of indictments earlier with Letitia James, James Comey, and the third one was.
Well, it was more that Donald Trump sent out a post naming 3 people.
Correct, but let's just dive into the details of those because you said that that's an example of fascism on the part of the president.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's dive into each of those. So Letitia James.
That's obviously an example of you don't want to say full-blown authoritarianism, like moving in that direction. Like, that's a little fucked up.
Indicted for mortgage fraud. And there's actually, if you read the indictment, there's pretty good evidence that Letitia James is actually guilty of mortgage fraud. James Comey.
Even that's not even. Even if she was, which to my understanding, she's probably not. But I don't know. I don't know for sure about Letitia James. I do know a little bit more about the Lisa Cook thing. What's that post-Toronto? Liberal versus conservative. So 2 fascists in favor. Debating with flavor fascism they want. This is true. Post-Toronto. Indictment alleges that James misrepresented a second home as such and saved under $20,000 over 30 years. But career prosecutors, Fannie Mae officials, and multiple grand juries have all rejected it and cast out and straight. Yeah, I don't know about that Letitia James one, but this is talking about Comey. And I know a little bit more about him and Lisa Cook. But that's not even like, it could be the case that some of them committed some amount of mortgage fraud, but the fact that you have the president telling the DOJ to prosecute these crimes that ordinarily the president would absolutely not concern himself with, right? It's a little that alone is crazy. This is obviously not a good faith, oh, Trump is just really concerned with mortgage fraud that James Comey did. Bro, really?
I don't think they've unsealed that indictment yet, so we don't know exactly what he's been charged for. But Michael Cohen, who's obviously a super anti-Trump guy, even went on MSDNC, MSNBC, same thing, and said that James Comey is probably guilty of those charges, and John Bolton has been indicted.
Listen, my problem is not with Letitia James. I actually think it's fine for this investigation to go on to Letitia James, and I think she should be tried by a jury of her peers. But the problem is, Eric Siebert, who is a federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Virginia, a very well-respected guy, he was told to indict those 3 people, and he refused. Let me finish. He refused to bring those indictments. Do you know what happened to him?
Yeah, he resigned.
Trump forced him to resign and threatened him. And then that week, Donald Trump.
If a prosecutor isn't going to do their job, they should 100% resign.
A prosecutor is the one who designs.
Their job is not to listen to the president like that.
Absolutely, you don't deserve that job.
Do you think it's the job of the president of the United States to, number one, force them out of their job, and number two, direct people? Okay, so can you name Joe Biden doing that to anybody?
Yeah, him directing Merrick Garland to open investigation.
But how so? When did he?
True. There's no on-the-record statement showing President Biden directly instructed Attorney General Merrick Garland. And there was a special counsel that Merrick Garland appointed. It wasn't even though, I think it was good that he had special counsel to do it, but I don't even think it was strictly necessary to even have a special counsel, because Trump was a private citizen when the DOJ started doing those investigations. I don't even think it was technically required to have a special counsel. Actually, maybe they shouldn't have had a special counsel, because apparently Jack Smith was appointed unconstitutionally, guys, right? But that's not. They gave him a special counsel. Merrick Garland even did things like paused the investigation into Trump when it was close to the midterms, even though Trump was a private citizen, because he thought apparently, even though Trump was a private citizen and it was just midterms and it was election, Trump was not running in or even considering running it ever, that would violate some DOJ rule about investigating political stuff too close to an election. Bro,
that was one of the things that Joe Biden said in the lead up to the inauguration.
He never said that.
Him and other prominent Democrats call for President Trump to be held accountable for January 6th, which is what Merrick Garland was doing.
No. So wait, you think that Trump directly?
He's.
Other prominent Democrats call for President Trump to be held accountable for January. That was one of the things that Joe Biden said in the lead up to the inauguration.
He never said that.
Him and other prominent Democrats call for President Trump to be held accountable for January 6th.
That, first of all, I don't know. I guess he probably did that as president, in his speech or whatever. But it's not. It's not like it's something that happened before Joe Biden was even president.
Lead up to inauguration. Him and other prominent Democrats call for President Trump to be held accountable for January 6th. Which is what Merrick Garland was.
But a public statement by the president to just say broadly Republicans should be held accountable, or Trump should be held accountable for January 6th, is not remotely equivalent to Trump shopping around prosecutors and pushing out certain prosecutors if they don't do his bidding. That's just not at all remotely anywhere near equivalent.
Was doing.
No. So wait, you think that Trump directly? You know the Pam Bondi tweet I'm talking about? When Trump tells Pam Bondi, he says, "Pam, I need you to indict these people."
Yes, that is in the purview of the president of the United States.
No, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. To make
the president of the United States is not supposed to.
Even if oh, what's up, Candace? Even if something is in the purview of the president, obviously, this guy would concede in 5 seconds that it is possible to do authoritarian or fascist or totalitarian fucking things that are constitutional, right? It is probably, I think it has to be done in good faith to be actually constitutional, or whatever. But the president could declare partial law, Lincoln suspended habeas corpus that arguably was not even legal when he did it. But there can't, quite obviously, it's trivial that the president can do things that are authoritarian, which to him apparently just means, so it's cadence, not candid. My bad. Is it actually? I did not notice that before. I'm double checking. I think you're gaslighting me. But yeah, silly.
Direct his attorney general.
And I don't know why Adam conceded to his definition so quickly. I don't mean, again, his definition of fascism was just being totalitarian while suppressing opponents' free speech or whatever, which doesn't even seem at all distinct from just what totalitarianism means to be.
Left in the United States established that by dissenting.
Really, how do you define fascist?
Yes, we'll start off with that. So I define it as one that wants totalitarian rule and aims to establish that by dissenting forcibly opposing views.
How do you define totalitarian?
That doesn't actually seem even distinct from just regular totalitarianism to me.
One more time.
No, real quick.
One more time.
If the left can co-opt.
When did Joe Biden direct Merrick Garland? And can you quote it? Because what you just said was a lie. Joe Biden never directed Merrick Garland.
It's pretty obvious that Joe Biden directed Merrick Garland to do so.
It's pretty obvious. Let's go. It's pretty obvious. You should just know. It was revealed to me in a dream. It's pretty obvious.
That was what Merrick Garland did on
Your claim is that it's, quote, obvious that Biden did it, but you have no evidence. But this obvious tweet from directing Pam Bondi is not.
Again, there's a fucking special counsel. Even if Biden did, it was not like Biden was going around again shopping for prosecutors. Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel. They granted Trump a lot of leeway. The courts themselves granted Trump a lot of leeway. There's a reason he wasn't actually ever convicted of anything before the election. Well, other than on the federal level, the New York State case, I guess. But is because, you know, the Florida case was thrown out for a while because they said Jack Smith was appointed unconstitutionally. The fucking Jack Smith case had to go all the way up in the Supreme Court to decide how much criminal immunity the president had. Like, bro.
It doesn't matter if it's public or private. The fact of the matter is that on the right, we actually prosecute people for real crimes they committed, whereas on the left, they make up crimes. For example, the one crime that Donald Trump got committed on the state of New York by Letitia James.
Falsifying business records 34 times.
Oh my God, that's a made-up crime.
Two separate crimes. They combine them into one, extend the statute of limitations just to charge President Trump on them. Do you know the mechanism for how they found him guilty? Like what did they find him guilty of?
Wait, that shouldn't even be. Even if it was a legal thing that extended it was a law that extended the statute of limitations, right?
Combine them into one, extend
like that. That would still be a crime then.
Just to charge President Trump on them. Do you know the mechanism for how they found him guilty? Like what did they find him guilty of?
Falsifying business records 34 times.
Like, yeah, do you know actual?
And commission of another crime.
Trying to pay Stormy Daniels and they lied about the payment.
Yeah, they said that he should have classified it, I believe, as a campaign expense. Yeah. I personally don't think that should be classified.
Oh, but the jury did. The jury thought it was. So you disagree with the jury of Trump's peers that were picked through the process of voir dire by Trump's own lawyers?
Yeah,
because it was a New York Democrat jury.
Okay, but the Letitia James trial isn't politicized.
No, because there's actual evidence of Morgan fraud.
Wait, is Trump committed a crime? Should he be charged?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't crimes up.
Wait, according to who?
What do you mean according? If you read the actual.
I've read the indictment and it went through not only a grand jury, the indictment, but then an actual jury. It's Donald Trump and his lawyers.
That's not.
Of course, yeah. I can use the same thing with Letitia James. Literally, they said.
I was gonna say, then why are we talking about? Then why are we talking about the evidence for the James Comey shit?
So before you call it fascistic, why don't you actually see the evidence and let the trial play out?
Also, like, you can look at, like, the indictments contain evidence in them, and like the indictment for James Comey is like literally like 2 pages, right? It's like, hold on, I believe it's like literally 2 pages. I could be wrong. It is, yeah, no, I'm not wrong. It's like literally 2 pages. And like, if you look at the indictment for either of the or any of the like 4 cases Trump had, they were really fucking long. They have a lot of evidence in them. You can even look at, if you don't want to look at the indictment, the actual final like report that Jack Smith put out with regards to both the cases he was running, because he had to make those when they were dropped or when Trump won the election. Like,
you're not engaging with what I'm saying.
Sure. Let's move to the other reasons why the left's more fascistic. So the main reason why I would say that is the rise of political violence that we have seen on the left, especially in the recent years with Donald Trump attempting to be assassinated twice. And
why is that? I don't think anyone views that as particularly relevant to fascist. Like, anarchist, like, might engage in political violence, right? Like, even what's the fucking heyday, bombing or whatever. Like, that was done by anarchists, right? That I don't think anyone thinks that makes them fascist.
Charlie Kirk's actual assassination. That is the textbook definition of fascism. You don't see that on the right.
Do you think you don't see that on the right?
No. When was the last time that Joe Biden had assassination attempt, or Barack Obama, or Bill Clinton, or any prominent Democrat politician?
Melissa Hortman and her husband and her dog were shot.
He's just gonna say they don't count. He's just gonna say they didn't come close, so they don't count.
You talking about the Minnesota lawmaker case? Yeah. What is your evidence that that's right wing? That he was right wing?
The guy
he was appointed by Tim Walz.
The guy had a list of Republicans that he was going to their houses. Or sorry, the guy had a list of Democrats he was going to their houses. I misspoke, and he was trying to take.
Sorry, hold on. Did I say Haymarket bombing? Whichever one was on the like fucking labor strike thing. I believe that was done by anarchists, right? I love Wikipedia. 8 anarchists were charged with the bombing. They were convicted of conspiracy in the internet. I'm going to assume that the jury of their peers was correct, okay? But, yeah, no one thinks it's sufficient to make you fascist, and I don't even think it's strictly necessary.
Take them out. He killed Melissa Hortman and her dog and her husband.
By Democrat lawmakers.
This is not true. This dude was a Republican. He was a Republican. Are you claiming that this was Democrat on Democrat violence? What is your claim?
There's no evidence that was Republican on Democrat violence. There's also no evidence.
He was not appointed by Tim Walz. He was a part of some board that Tim Walz was also a part of. This is like
okay, what's your evidence that he was motivated by right-wing politicians?
A few things. He left, or in jail, he said that he did this because he doesn't like Democrats. I promise you, he told someone this in jail. He also literally went to, I think it was 5 different Democrats' house, but only 2 families were home, and he killed Melissa Hortman, and then he shot the man who he survived.
Sure, and so here's the big difference. Here's the difference between that and what happened with Charlie Kirk and President Trump. On the right, you really don't see anyone celebrating that. On the left, you absolutely see people celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination.
No one. So now the standard for fascists is like the celebration of political violence.
Just saw people on TikTok and Instagram saying that they hope that the shooter.
Oh my God, they all clap too.
How can you miss? That would never happen.
And again, like, I'm sure Adam's gonna mention this, but obviously, every fucking actual elected Democrat condemned it. Okay.
We don't celebrate assassinations. You guys do.
Can you name
And Donald Trump, pardoned all the J6ers. Seems a bit of a, bit of a disconnect there. It was Republicans who didn't want to convict Trump in the, in the Senate for the January 6th stuff as well. Like,
one Democrat in power who celebrated.
Although in fairness, that was just because apparently it's not constitutional to impeach someone after they leave office.
And power celebrated? No.
Founders didn't consider that loophole.
This is a cultural problem with the left.
No.
The left as a whole, their culture is fascistic.
So you can't name one Democrat in power who celebrated, but when Nancy...
That's I don't think... the culture of the right isn't fascistic. Like, even if that is a... some element of fascism, which I don't think conventionally, like, just a celebration of political violence is that essential to fascism. Like, look at the group chats that were leaked of the young Republicans, right? Look at how many people watch Fuentes nowadays on the right. Look at, you got Kai Swimmer behind you, bro. Like, look at the people that are growing in your movement. They don't exhibit even more elements of fascism, even if you think that the celebration of violence is some element. This might not fall under what you consider violent or whatever, but look at how the right, look at how the DHS account on Twitter, which is an official account run by the administration, right, tweets about deportations, right? The deportation ASMRs, the how America will look like after 100 million deportations, they said, right? That's not fascist at all.
Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, had his head bashed in with a skull. Had his skull bashed in with a hammer from somebody who supports Donald Trump. Trump and Don Jr. posted memes about that. They posted memes about it the next day. Do you think there's a difference between somebody in power making fun of a violent crime versus random people online?
I think that it's indicative when you have the entire left as a whole.
No, answer my question. Is there a difference between somebody in power?
There is a difference because when you see an entire political ideology, the whole, pretty much the entire grassroots leftist operation.
So now you're categorizing my entire party as what, a violent ideology?
Campuses as a president of
college. This is not even by far the most egregious tweet they have, but we don't think any of this type of rhetoric is fascist. America after 100 million deportations. All the join ICE shit. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Merry Christmas from ICE. Incredible.
Republicans of America, when chapters across country tell me that they're tabling on campus, you have people coming up celebrating that Charlie's death, that is indicative of a cultural problem with the left. That is that you just don't see on the right.
You absolutely do.
Well, when was the last time you've ever been on a college campus and see someone on the right, trying to celebrate?
I don't even have to look at college students. I can look at the actual leaders of the party who are making fun of Paul Pelosi. What about Mike Lee? Senator Mike Lee, or Representative Mike Lee, made fun of Melissa Hortman and made jokes about it. Do you condemn that?
I don't know what jokes he made.
He was saying that it was something about the shooter being.
Don't even know.
He was making a bunch of jokes about the shooter doing this for some crazy reason, and then he got confronted in Congress. He made a series of jokes online that he had to delete. Do you condemn that?
But are you saying that he was making fun of people on the left, saying that it was politically motivated? Then no, I don't.
No, he was making fun of Melissa Hortman days after she died. Okay, do you think it's okay for Trump to post AI videos of Paul Pelosi or whatever? He posted an AI video of Nancy Pelosi laughing about Paul Pelosi.
I didn't see the video, so I can't say. But what I can say again,
I didn't see people on college campuses doing this, so I can't say. I don't know.
I mean, you can pretty easily look at social media and find people celebrating it. I mean, like people said earlier, you have people posting.
But no Democrats in power.
What do you mean no Democrats in
You're
power?
saying
If you want to talk about Democrats trying to get power, we can talk about the Virginia AG candidate Jay Jones, who said that he hopes that people on the right kids die.
I condemn that.
Bro.
Perfect. So then he should drop out of the race.
Sure. Can you name a single Democrat in power who didn't condemn that?
The person who's running for Virginia.
No, she in a debate last week, she said, of course I condemn it. Even Jay Jones
condemned
condemned
himself. To tell him to drop out of the race.
She should tell him to drop out. But here's the funny thing.
Yeah, none of you condemn any of the shit Trump did not even vote for him, bro. Give me a fucking break.
Right now, you are pointing to people on my side, and you can't name a single Democrat in power who made fun of Charlie Kirk. You can't name a single Democrat in power who said that Jay Jones, what he said was good. I can point to multiple.
Well, you have people like Republicans leave in AOC who come out after the fact of Charlie's assassination, said he was a racist and were against memorializing an American hero in Congress.
So they weren't celebrating any of it. Okay, there's a fundamental difference between the way the two parties function. And it's because Stephen Miller the other day said the Democratic Party is not a political party; it's a domestic extremist organization.
When you have people of that political party going out and celebrating the death of the other side, then absolutely.
You think it's okay to categorize the entire party?
100%.
Okay, that's not. It's not fascist because it's true.
Wait, you think the entire party?
The Democratic Party is de-radicalized.
Okay, but you can't name a single Democrat.
It is a problem when the base of your party is celebrating other people's death. It is a problem when people of your party are openly calling for death of people like Charlie Kirk. It is a problem when the motives of the shooter are very clear, that it was emboldened by Democrat politicians when they have catch this fascist. So
that's not even
it is clear that Democrat politicians rhetoric around Donald Trump being a fascist, Charlie Kirk
being a fascist.
But you can't name a Democratic politician who celebrates things. That's
regardless if it is a problem, I don't think almost anyone considers, with how people actually use the term fascism, this to be like some essential component of fascism.
Donald Trump was trying to be assassinated. That's the same reason Charlie Kirk was.
Is there any proof that Thomas Matthew Crooks was even a liberal? What's your proof?
That Thomas Matthew, he donated to ACA?
That's not true.
What do you mean it's not true? Yes, it is.
I feel like Adam's usually better at debating than this, bro. I mean, the guy is like 80% plus a liberal. Like, I don't know if we know technically for certain yet, but I think that should be your presumption for sure.
He rushed as a Republican solely for the purpose of coming after Donald Trump and voting Nikki Haley in the primary.
So this is your proof. He was like 20 when the
taking stand town hall meeting me. Jay Jonas is an American hero.
Last election cycle.
It was obvious that he was a Democrat, like I said, because he donated to ACT Blue before.
Wait, so it's obvious he's a Democrat, but Melissa Hortman Shooter, who had a list of 6 different Democrats, isn't a Republican. Do you see the double standards here? And
no, you don't. Not at all.
It's throughout this entire debate, you guys are able to draw connections, even with Pam Bondi. You said that Biden, there's no actual proof of Biden asking Merrick Garland to do this, but the proof of Trump asking Pam Bondi to do this isn't enough proof.
Well, again, the proof is that Merrick Garland on day 1 did after being appointed from Biden.
He didn't. He slow walked it. He did not do it on day 1, and Biden never asked him to do that.
I was gonna say, bro, the amount of like leniency.
I mean, if he was actually as strong as you guys thought he was, then Trump would probably be in jail for trying to overthrow the 2020 election right now.
There's no crime there, but
Time's up.
There was no crime there. Okay.
Good work, man.
What's this guy's name? Martin. Riddle me this, Mr. Utilitarian. Am I morally compelled to take a stray cat in to prevent it from killing other animals, or should I just kill the cat? You're confused, okay? Killing other animals is good. Like, people are all upset. Oh my god, domestic cats kill 1 billion birds every year. Okay. Do you think those birds live good lives anyway? Wild animal suffering is bad. You should want to decrease it. So you should leave the cat. Take in the cat. Yeah, I mean, you can take in the cat. You just gotta still let it outside to kill some birds. Okay, Martin's stuff is not in the description, unfortunately. Who are the other people? What's the girl's name? Riley or whatever.
Got it. Nice to meet you.
I'm Riley.
Nice to meet you, Riley.
She's not there. Okay. So I should kill and slay people's babies because they would live negative utility lives. I don't, it's not clear to me that slaves necessarily lived negative lives. Some of them certainly did, I guess. But like, I think it would be good to reduce the future population of slaves. And I think, most people like have that intuition that it'd be good to reduce the future population of slaves. Now, when you use, such extreme methods of like actually killing their babies like that, obviously there are other considerations you have to make there. Like even just regards to like the norm of murder and stuff. But I think it's trivial that, at least at a certain point, like you should like kill someone that has like a just like horrible life. Like if there was someone like just burning, like you're burning at the fucking stake and they're just like screaming, shoot me, like you should probably shoot them. I think that argument does scale down. It's just that the more you scale it down, the more other considerations there tend to be. Man, is this the only dude who like linked his shit? So you can kill animals if they're likely to have a negative utility lives in nature. So I think it's best viewed through the reducing the future population, and like that's why like habitat destruction, okay, is like a good thing. Like if you just build a fucking Walmart and destroy a bunch of woodland, okay, like that can be good. Like that reduces like the resources they have to like reproduce and stuff, and like doesn't necessarily like directly kill any animals. Because the more you do that, the more you have to worry about the actual harm you're doing to the animal and any of the with animals you're not going to have it's already norm and stuff that we eat animals, I guess you're not going to have that big of effects with like any type of norm violation that you think might spill over to other parts of society or whatever. But there are other things you still have to consider when you like are directly killing as opposed to just destroying habitat and stuff. Therefore, factory farming good because then eating meat saves animals from a painful life. No, but you could just not see if you don't eat the meat, they never have the painful life to begin with, and there's no possible argument around that, Mr. Utilitarian. True. Okay, we're definitely not watching all this at all. Okay, I want to read. I just want to know what. Oh fuck, Connor is there. What the hell?
Not even be in front of your face, let alone sitting here talking to people. So this whole thing, you're not going to be able to drive. But this is what I'm asking you. Why? Nobody's forcing you in America to.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Where's Menar's opening?
Able to choose practice.
The can do before the
GDP. The reason we don't look at just, for example, a college education is because they're not sufficient. Can you hear me? They're not
I can hear you just
sufficient.
fine. I'm muting.
They're not sufficient information. For example, just the GDP of a country without looking at the socio-economical standpoint, without looking at the neighbors and how they're dealing with them, without looking at the war status of the country is not really going to give you a bigger picture of the religion.
This is calmer head than Menar usually is, to be fair. MDD chat must be wild in tonight. Yeah.
Verses of the religion.
If Islam,
how about that?
It kills ground-dwelling animals, birds, get car accidents where drivers hit animals passing the roads. Don't you interfere with the ecosystem as you keep destroying habitat? Yeah, but I want to destroy the ecosystem. You'll likely have unknown consequences. Yeah, we just weigh that into the expected value calculation. Wait, one of the pro-Islam debaters is great. Yeah, that was confusing to me too. I had like some of my chat just told me this was happening earlier, and I was like, when did it grace?
Great culture.
Because some Islam defender, I don't know.
Great cultures. Why have you guys been getting
Islam prohibits incest? Dude, there's a lot of Grace lore I don't know. Is there incest lore of her I don't know?
Shit kicked out of you for a century
So
by
this is the
secular
argument.
degenerate
Like, this is a
freak
failed.
Christian
This is not an
leftists.
argument. So because Trump.
Wait a second. Wait. Can I just say something? Counterpoints. GDP would affect both men and women. So let's talk about something that's specific to women.
True.
Right? Because higher GDP in a country is going to be better for everyone in the country, right? So that's not really specific to women.
Sure, but of course you would increase GDP through increased productivity, which by the way, like productivity and GDP are not my false god. I don't worship economic activity.
The indicator
However,
that
I would like the ability to finish the concept. However, what I find funny is that Islam and many Muslims have main character syndrome because they were a dominant civilization throughout the medieval period, and yet you complain that the Western world is this degenerate, fucked up shit. Times more seriously, then I'll take Menar. Because, for instance, Menar's getting angry right now that I'm bringing up cousin marriage. But instead of saying, hey, actually, cousin marriage, because I'm following the objective.
They're talking about incest now. Let's go.
Cousin marriage actually does have all these bad effects, and it is something that.
Can I prove you don't have freedom of conscience?
And we should prohibit. No, Menar, allow me to finish. He has to simultaneously. He has to twist himself into a pretzel knot, where he simultaneously has to say, well, it's not really Islam that's causing the cousin marriage, but then on top of that, even if it was, it's good. Which is fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. He has to twist himself into knots.
You're saying you respect someone who doesn't steal because they think it's not good to steal more than somebody who doesn't steal because it's illegal to steal and they'll get in trouble for it. Everybody respects people who use virtue from the basis of virtue. But all societies guide people through laws, including the West. So once again, your point is irrelevant. There have always been laws that prevent people from doing wrong things. It's just
okay. I'm done with this. Cousin marriage rates Jesus, I can't speak, are truly wild in some countries. Are they like actually high in like Muslim majority countries or something? What country has the highest cousin marriage rate? And how hard is it to get a visa there? Google it right now. I'm gonna highest cousin marriage rate country. Pakistan, highest rate of cousin marriage. Over 6% of marriages occurring between relatives. Let's go. Inbreeding by country. Afghanistan, Iran. This is yeah, okay, what counts? Is it cousin, like first cousin, or is it like Closer than second cousins. Okay. Interesting. 60% is crazy. 50% in Sudan and South Sudan. 0.1%. We gotta get those numbers first. Closer than second. Isn't that just first? Yeah. I don't know. I don't. Maybe they meant it. I mean, I get they're like, I guess including other types of relationships in that, like mother and daughter and brother and sister and stuff that are, I guess, closer than second cousins. I guess that's probably why they phrase it that way. Half siblings, yeah. .9% in Japan. That is kind of crazy. 60% is kind of crazy. How is it that high? Is it just like more culturally accepted there or something? Like Pakistan's got a lot of people. You can find someone not related to you. Okay, these are all like populations with big countries. I'd be curious to see like Iceland. Rural Pakistan is very, very behind the times. I guess it makes sense. Is arranged marriage? Oh, I guess that, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know how true that is, to be clear, but that would make sense if a lot of it was simply like arranged marriages and stuff. That would make sense. That would make sense. This is the future liberals want. This is true. This is true. Dude, I thought incest was supposed to be the universal taboo, okay? Clearly the people in Pakistan just don't give a fuck, alright? Clearly. They don't care. Okay, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna... This is the future Alex O'Connor wants. This is true. Dude, I saw... oh my god. He posted a clip of, like, him talking about that on TikTok or whatever. It might not even have been him. It might have been the big think people he did an interview with or whatever. And all the comments just like severely misunderstood his point and everything. And it was fucking crazy. It was like, I can't believe this guy's just finding incest. It's like, you know, like I think he said, like, oh, people point to like power dynamics being why incest is wrong. But just like control for that, because like he's talking about whether incest is like intrinsically wrong, right? Like in and of itself. But everyone was like, what do you mean control for that? That's what makes it wrong. It was like, it was crazy. It pissed me off seeing those comments. I will also say he made a video about the non-identity problem, and like the like reductio for just like the utilitarian view on the non-identity problem was just like, well, you'd have to say that some people who exist currently aren't...
Have you ever wondered what your...
the best possible people that could exist, and like that just seems like not even that intuitive to me.
Utilitarians, saying, of all the potential people who could exist, we're just obligated to maximize the overall quality of life. But there are a few problems with this. The first thing to note is that it does lead to some uncomfortable conclusions. For example, Derek Parfit tells a story. Some years ago, a British politician welcomed the fact that in the previous year, there had been fewer teenage pregnancies. A middle-aged man wrote in anger to the Times newspaper. He'd been born when his mother was only 14. He admitted that because his mother was so young, his early years had been hard for both of them. But his life was now well worth living. Was the politician suggesting that it would have been better if he had never been born? This suggestion seemed to him outrageous. As Parfit points out, yeah, the politician kind of is saying that. You can't say that 50 years ago it would have been better for the mother to wait, but today it wouldn't have been better back then. You have to be consistent, and if it would have been better that there were no teenage pregnancies back then it would have been better if the resulting children had never been born.
But like, it seems, I think at some margin, this is like quite trivial. And then it's unclear to me kind of why the argument wouldn't go down. Are we breaking out our health economics? Dude, I downloaded like multiple health economics textbooks. Yeah. Yeah, I tried to find as good of a like comparative one as I could. I do have I have this one comparing health systems, but this is like not a, also this already has like highlights in it for some reason that are locked and I can't get rid of them. There's got to be some way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. I got to figure that out. And it's not written by an economist, so okay. Then I got comparing health policies. I think this one is supposed to be, it's not like strictly comparative, but I think it has comparative stuff in it, or so I think Google Gemini told me, because I asked it for a bunch of recommendations.
Well, look, maybe that is just,
I think like if it was the case that like, you know, I'm trying to think of hypotheticals that's not like just totally not I don't trust anything not written by economists exactly. Like not, I'm trying to think of hypotheticals like technically possible or something, but I can't think of one. So like if it was the case that like a child born today would like live for 10 years in labor benefits would like live for 10 years in a lake of fire before I have that one too, Sauce Rama. Yeah. And then like, you know, after 10 years in the fucking pits of hell, go on to live like a normal life. It seems trivial to say that it'd be better if instead of having that child, you waited a day and had another child instead, right? Like that seems trivial. Seems like most people would accept that. And like, if, you know, that the child was born and lived in a pit of fire for 10 years and then grew up and had like normal life and was like, oh my God, I can't believe people are suggesting that it'd be better like had I not existed. Like it just seems like you're not it just seems like you're just biased to the already existing person and not like actually seeing the greater potential that other person had, essentially. And then the moralist said that seems trivial. I'm just saying, like, obviously, you know, at some margin, like, things like that are trivial. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm just saying, like, it. But also on the hold on, let me find my featured chat thing. On the veganism reversal thing, I thought it was just I thought he didn't actually think the arguments failed. I thought he just like said he had dietary problems. And then like later said like, oh well, I've shifted a bit more to like a policy thing instead of like a individual responsibility thing.
Just an uncomfortable truth that we simply have to accept. But it's not exactly a nice thought. Still, even if you do just accept this, there's a bigger problem. This idea that we're considering, that we should just choose whichever option has...
I think the next problem we're talking about is like discount rates for the future or something.
Is given a name by Parfit. He calls it the same number quality claim. You can see his wording on screen. Notice, crucially, the same number bit. Parfit believes that this principle does allow us...
Oh no, this is just repugnant conclusion, I think. Yeah.
...if children. They'd also have good lives, but because the resources would be a bit more stretched between them, their individual quality has a life that...
Yeah, it just says repugnant conclusion, which I think they're separate responses for, obviously, but regardless. Listen, it's just obviously trivial if you had one child who would like live a barely net positive life and another child who would just be the utility monster. Like I don't think it would be that counterintuitive to like, you know, find the child who like had a barely net positive life and be like, yeah, you know, I just think it would have been better overall if like, you know, your mother had waited a day to give birth and you didn't exist, but instead the utility monster existed. Like, and I want to utility monster, not in the it has to eat everyone's sense, but it just in the just, you know, experiences much greater utility from every bit of consumption compared to everyone else. Do you believe in dessert? No. Or desert. That's desert, right? No, so desert is 2 S's. But I understand what you're saying. Okay. Like I said, I don't know how I'm gonna lay this stuff out yet. Do you have any metaphysical positions? Not strongly. 1945 Labour Party election manifesto. Oh my god. Jobs for all. They were limited by the econometrics of their time. Okay. If the Nazis claimed they were utility monsters and the only way to serve them was to kill all minority groups, how would we know that they're wrong? I mean, I think the same way. I mean, so when he's saying no, we might have like different definitions of knowledge or whatever, but like strictly speaking, I don't think you can be 100% confident they're wrong, to be clear. I think you'd be 98% confident that they're wrong, right? But I think it's like much the same way that you know anything else. You use your sense data, you use your intuition to evaluate claims like that. Like technically, like in some sense, I can't know for certain that like the utility of an American getting a guide dog is just like so much greater than the like, you know, utility of much more people in sub-Saharan Africa getting cured of blindness via like vitamin C injections. But can you know anything of 100% certainty? Not. I mean, I guess. I mean, I think therefore I am. I don't think technically, like. I don't think really. Like, I think it's. I don't think you can know for certain that the external world exists. But, you know, what would convince you that something was a utility monster? I don't know. It'd have to be some type of like self-reported thing, probably, in combination with like that aligning with the utility monster, like seeming to exhibit much more joy and like external signs of joy or whatever whenever they consume something, right? But utility monster would be like utility monster is a very high like threshold, right? Like that's not just like someone like gets twice the amount of joy from stuff. That's like someone gets a quadrillion, trillion times more enjoyment from everything. Okay, I think I want to start with this one. I don't know. I also need to find something. There's gotta be something good on this. I don't know. I have some stuff on it, I guess. This talks more specifically about the ACA, because I know broadly ACA, individual mandate, you know, risk adjustment on the back end, yada, yada, yada. Act utilitarianism was debunked, inaccurate. But there's got to be something more in depth that I can read on the ACA, and I don't know exactly what it would be. It might just be this. How many This is 28 pages. I think all this is really what I want, though. The three-legged stool, yeah. I remember that much. So, I don't know. I guess we'll start with this. And I don't know how I'll structure things. Why we like this. By the way, I think not next week, but the week after. I don't know what day yet. The week that like starts on the 12th, I will be hopefully talking to Ryan Malee about utilitarianism. So, oh boy. I know he likes the utility monster too. But even I imagine I'll mention this or whatever. But I don't think any of the reductios to utilitarianism really move me closer to like natural law or anything. They like. The utility monster would move me arguably further away from natural law. I'd be more egalitarian, right? I'd be more like evil economy, retire in peace. Like, you know. Okay. Health economics is a growing field within the discipline of economics. Health economics, maybe I don't even need to read the intro. I don't know if I do. Health economics deals with issues related to financing and delivery of health services and the role of such services and other personal decisions in contributing to personal health. Unlike the opening of department stores and car dealerships, there is no grand opening for a new field in a discipline such as economics. As an academic field of inquiry, there is virtually no health economics research before 1945 and relatively little after that date until the 1960s. During the early 60s, 2 Nobel laureates published papers that had important impact on the development of health economics as a field. Health economics as a field, sorry. One was the seminal paper by Kid and Thorough. Guys, I've seen this paper. I disagree with that definition. What definition? Of health economics. Emphasizing the role of uncertainty in determining key institutional features of the health sector. The other was Gary Becker's treatise on human capital, which provided the theoretical foundation for economists to analyze the role of healthcare in the production of health. Since the early 1960s, health economics has enjoyed several decades of remarkable growth, and the future of this field looked extremely bright as well. I like how they have a citation for that. This chapter introduces some key economic concepts and describes the contents of the book. The importance of health economics. Everyone's affected by health and personal health care services in important ways. Your health affects your enjoyment of life, your ability... Guys, this seems trivial. Family's well-being, and to be a productive member of the workforce, and earlier in your life, your ability to be productive in school. Most people receive at least one personal health care service annually by midlife, and certainly later in life, the consumption of personal health services tends to be much higher than for younger adults. When employed, you probably will pay taxes that finance health insurance and personal health care services. The more healthcare you consume, the better your health is, and therefore there are no diminishing returns. This is true. Given the importance of the health sector in many countries, many of you will eventually find employment in an organization involved in healthcare provision or financing, or be involved with healthcare as an attorney, business leader, or government official. The impact of health economics is felt not only within the discipline of economics, but also outside the field. Health economists are likely to be cited in scholarly journals and other publications outside economics literature, such as in the medical, public health, and public policy books and journals, as they are in economic publications. Fuchs 2000, did I pronounce that? Attributed this phenomenon to the two-hat nature of health economics. On the one hand, Health economics is a behavioral science. High-quality research in this field advances the discipline of economics in general, and more broadly, all the social disciplines. On the other hand, health economics provides valuable insights into empirical evidence on important health policy issues and health services research, a general field in which experts in clinical practice and public health are engaged. Judged by their participation in the public policy arena and the media, health economists have had an important presence. Of course, our advice has been disregarded more often than it has been followed. Practical political considerations often weigh much more heavily in actual public policy decisions than they do in economics policy recommendations. Also, new public policy directions are much more likely to be undertaken when there is a crisis. At other times, inertia prevents the adoption of even sound new ideas. Health economists investigate positive issues, empirical relationships among variables as they are, more frequently than they do normative issues or policy recommendations about how resources should be allocated or distributed. Examples of what the fuck, why to underline it. Bro, what? Is this just PDF being weird? Oh. No, I'm just stupid. Okay. Examples of recent positive issues are inquiries into the response to demand to changes in the price of personal healthcare services, individual choices among several health insurance plans, the decision to start or stop smoking, the decisions pharmaceutical manufacturers make about investments in research and development, determinants of physicians' fees, hospital prices, and output decisions. People's firms and healthcare organizations are motivated by incentives. Not all incentives that affect decisions are financial, but many are. To achieve socially desirable outcomes, incentives must be structured appropriately. In most markets, in most economies, prices provide inducements for those levels of outputs of goods and services to be supplied that are the most desired, given the resources available to the party making a decision. Governments are largely on the sidelines, policing abuses and imposing taxes to raise revenue, but in general, governments do not play an active role in resource allocation in most markets, as explained below. However, government intervention is more common in healthcare than most sectors. The growth of health economics. Okay, do I actually need to read the intro like this? I don't think I do. I don't know if there's anything particularly relevant for me here. There's this. Efficiency refers to how societies given resources maximize welfare. Equity refers to how society distributes goods and services amongst its members. Whoa. Also, government intervention is more common in healthcare. Well, now I know why healthcare is an issue. This is true. Every product just got more expensive. Is all the stuff that the government is involved in. Haven't you seen that chart? Healthcare sectors or countries have unique features. There are also many similarities. Following are some of the similarities. First, the sector's outputs are consumed by individuals. These outputs tend to be rival in consumption. This means, for example, if one receives an X-ray, that the same X-ray cannot be consumed by someone else. By contrast, some goods such as national defense and public health are public goods. Well, these goods are not rival in consumption of the safety from strong national defense or public health policy by one individual. Does not reduce the potential for others to consume goods. The goods. The health sector encompasses some public goods, in particular those deriving from biomedical research and public health programs. However, in terms of dollar value, personal healthcare services dominate. Second, as with the vast majority of other goods and services, decision-making about the use of personal healthcare services is highly decentralized. Each day, hundreds of millions of individuals around the world make decisions about the use of health services. Third, suppliers of health services respond to financial and non-financial incentives, as do suppliers of goods and services. Wow, incredible. Of other goods and services. Just because a country's health system is government-run does not mean that individual suppliers are not responsive to incentives. Physicians paid a fixed salary by the government are likely to take account of the fact that an extra hour work is not likely to result in higher compensation in deciding whether or not they will stay late to serve those patients in a waiting room after official closing time. Given these similarities, many aspects of health economics are amenable to study using the same methods that microeconomists use to study behaviors in other markets. Health economics is a subfield of applied microeconomics. Students of health economics are helped by course in labor economics, public economics, industrial organization, and econometrics, and conversely, to study health economics can be useful for students in the other applied microeconomic fields. On the other hand, healthcare also has more unique features. More than we can consider here. These features are not necessarily unique to healthcare, but taken in combination, they do account for ways in which healthcare services are financed and delivered. 3 important features are health insurance, externalities, and asymmetric information. Health insurance. I think I know what health insurance is. I don't know if I need. What's up, North? Thank you, Google Gemini. That was a banger tweet. Asymmetric information is present when one party to a transaction has more information pertinent to the transaction than another party does not. Than another party does not possess. For example, a company executive is more likely to have information on an imminent company announcement about the profit earned last quarter. Yeah, blah 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 blah. We're just gonna say, obviously, adverse selection. How goes the reading streams? Well, it basically just started reading, but pretty good so far. A key attribute of healthcare is that the supply of healthcare services often, if not typically, possesses information about the disease or its treatment that a patient doesn't have. Such asymmetric information is a potentially important source of market power for physicians. We're talking about the credence good stuff. You need a module that shows your combined viewers on your counter in your stream. I don't see much value in that. I remember setting that up once, but I don't know. Doesn't seem worth it to me, especially because I stream on so many platforms. I would just have it for YouTube, Twitch, and Kick probably, but prerequisite for competition to prevail in a market is that consumers have good information. Healthcare consumers may lack sufficient information to make informed choices. One responsive but uninformed consumer is to seek the advice of a physician. In fact, one of the most fundamental services physicians supply to their patients is conveying information. Ideally, physicians would provide unbiased information to their patients, but difficulty arises under conditions of asymmetric knowledge, for physicians may exploit the information asymmetry. Society has designed a wide variety of ways to deal with the information asymmetry. Professional norms are designed to combat any tendency physicians might have to take advantage of the superior information. Medical school graduates take the Hippocratic Oath, in which the oath takers promise to act in his or her patient's interest. Well, acting in patient's interest is an ideal. In practice, professional norms operate imperfectly because strong financial motives to supply profitable services may lead some physicians to take advantage of patients by exploiting the information asymmetry. Furthermore, what is in the patient's best interest may not be very clear given the uncertainties in patients' diagnoses and in the effects of various therapies. Not only is the effect of therapy often uncertain, there's often substantial heterogeneity in the effects of treatment. Owing to genetic and other factors, the same drug has different effects in different individuals. A surgical procedure likewise can differ in effectiveness, and the underlying probability of adverse effects of surgery is likely to differ amongst individuals as well, both because patients differ and because surgeons differ in the ability to perform the procedure. Aside from implementing professional norms, which largely rely on the Professional norms, which largely rely on the self-regulation of behavior, countries have implemented public and quasi-public regulations to cope with with asymmetric information, as well as private institutional arrangements. Professional and institutional licensure and certification fall in the former category. Physicians must be licensed before they can practice medicine. Institutional licensure includes licensure of hospitals. I'm pronouncing that right?
Licensure.
Yeah. Laws allow for the formation of private nonprofit hospitals, organizations that are not organized for the purpose of maximizing profits for shareholders. In recent years, increasing emphasis has been placed on educating healthcare consumers about their options. This has taken the form of direct-to-consumer advertising, prescription drugs, and report cards on the performance of hospitals. Even though information provision also has potential pitfalls, for example, direct-to-consumer advertising may give the seller more market power, such as advertising may also help consumers know more about their treatment options. Physicians become knowledgeable about the efficacy of treatments by reading articles in professional journals, enrolling, good one, they're watching Joe Rogan, buddy, enrolling in continuing medical education programs, listening to sales representatives of pharmaceutical manufacturers, and discussing treatments with colleagues. Yeah, more like discussing, watching Joe Rogan discuss treatment with, not even a colleague, a dipshit. Given the rapid rate of technological change, evidence on efficacy is always changing. Thus, physicians, other health professionals, and healthcare administrators use various approaches to acquire knowledge about recent technological developments. Government intervention in healthcare markets. What? WHO at one time ranked countries' health systems in terms of their performance. These rankings reflected the performance of the public sector of the countries in healthcare, as well as other factors. The WHO indicates that it no longer produces such a ranking table because of the complexity of the task. Although individual rankings can be debated, it is noteworthy that France, Italy, Spain, Australia, and Japan were at the top 10 of WHO's rankings in 2000. The United States ranked 37th, which was about the same ranking as Canada, Finland, Australia, Slovenia, and Cuba. And the bottom 10 ranked 181 to 190, where the low-income countries, mainly in Africa. Government's role in achieving equitable distribution of resources. Government throughout the world have been more active in healthcare than in most other sectors of the economy. High levels of government activity in healthcare have created substantial demand for policy analysis by health economists. A major reason for government intervention is redistributive. The underlying notion is that just societies, people should have minimal access to certain goods, irrespective of their ability to pay. Historically, such goods were provided by private philanthropy, but apparently in insufficient amounts, providing a rationale for government intervention. Absent government intervention, market forces may lead to a situation in which less affluent populations and populations disadvantaged for other reasons, such as geographic remoteness of location at which health services are delivered relative to where persons work and live, may be inadequate to access personal healthcare services. Governments have a choice whether or not to transfer resources to disadvantaged populations in the form of income or in-kind transfers. Economists typically prefer income transfers, leaving it to the recipients of the transfers to allocate the subsidies in a way that maximizes well-being from the household's perspective. However, for merit wants, societies clearly prefer to redistribute in kind out of a concern that households will underconsume the very goods and services which societies attach the highest priority. Income transfers may be allocated to other goods and services instead of physician visits and other types of personal healthcare services. Countries differ in how in-kind transfers are made. Many countries mainly rely on direct provision through public clinics and hospitals. Some high-income countries, including the UK, Denmark, Norway, and New Zealand, as well as low-income countries such as those in sub-Saharan Africa, rely on direct government provision of healthcare services. Governments subsidize the production of personal healthcare services in the form of free clinics and hospitals. In countries with limited resources, there may be few government-sponsored facilities, and the few that exist may be geographically remote from much of the country's population. Because of the high cost, many persons may obtain care only after their disease have reached an advanced stage, if they receive care at all. Facilities receive budgetary allocations from the government on a regular basis. The limiting factors are the facility's budget and the physical plant. Higher income persons may obtain care from private providers who are not subsidized by the government. Some countries have single-payer government. What I miss? Not much. You missed a little bit of reading. Some countries have single-payer government financing combined with private provision. Health insurance was provided as social insurance. In these countries, insurance coverage is universal, or nearly so, and provided without regard to a person's ability to pay. Examples with single-payer systems are Canada and Taiwan. In Germany, which is a social insurance system for healthcare since the late 19th century, coverage of employees below a certain monthly salary is mandated by law. Although such health insurance is provided by private sick funds, coverage attributes are subject to strict government oversight and regulation. For persons unemployed, there's a welfare-based insurance coverage similar to Medicaid in the United States. A third alternative is the private provision of insurance, as is common in the United States. However, even in the United States, about half of expenditures in personal healthcare services are financed by public funds. I think this book was written in 2012, sorry. One of them was written in 2021 or whatever. This one was written in 2021. I think we're up to like 80% now. I think it depends on how you measure it, like how you want to exactly account for the fact that like the tax benefits we give to like employer provided insurance. But I think if you just count those as a subsidy, we're up to like 80%. Maybe it's not entirely fair to count that as just a straight up subsidy, but regardless. And they say we have private healthcare. The equity efficiency quandary in government's role. Well, there's broad consensus that some redistribution of resources is appropriate. There's no consensus on either the proper amount of redistribution or how it should be accomplished. Also, in seeking to redistribute resources, there's been an unfortunate tendency on the part of some to view public policies as almost entirely redistributional and ignore the effects of public policies on healthcare resource allocation. Public policies can also have important potential effects on incentives individuals face as healthcare consumers, as household decisions make more generally, and as suppliers of healthcare. Before defining the economic concept of efficiency more precisely, we supply a few examples to set the stage. To ensure that poor families have access to personal healthcare services from the standpoint of equity, it may be desirable to provide such families with a government-paid health insurance policy. However, if one has to be poor to receive the benefit, the cost to the family of engaging in work for pay can become prohibitively high. Not only is the publicly financed health insurance policy potentially lost, but the family faces the prospect of paying for health insurance privately, clearly a disincentive to engage in market work. There's a widespread misperception among some that the government can cut fees to physicians by giving by a given percentage without there being any effect on the supply of physician services, or cut prices of pharmaceutical products by this amount without having any effect on pharmaceutical research and development. But as fees decrease, physicians may reduce the time they supply to the market, and for private funds to be allocated to investment in research and development, pharmaceutical manufacturers must be able to count on a return that covers their cost of capital. The social insurance model of health insurance provision has advantages in helping countries achieve a fair distribution of income. Moreover, the provision of such insurance improves individuals' well-being by reducing out-of-pocket expenditure risk as well. However, when public insurance is subsidized by compulsory payments, such as through payroll tax, such taxes may distort decisions people make in allocating time to market work versus time spent in other pursuits. How high is the elasticity in payroll taxes, though? For real, though. Like the elasticity of labor supply specifically to payroll taxes, obviously. Efficiency has two meanings in economics. One is usual meaning, which is referred to as technical efficiency. If a unit output can be produced with 2 units of labor and 3 units of capital, producing the unit with more inputs, for example, with 3 units of labor and 4 units of capital, would be technically inefficient. Technical efficiency issues have been raised in the context of healthcare, as they have been raised elsewhere. For example, an issue in healthcare context is whether or not for-profit hospitals are more technically efficient than than hospitals run by the government or private non-profit organizations. The other type of efficiency, which is used more often in economics and technical efficiency, is allocative efficiency. The 3 examples above of the equity efficiency trade-off refer to allocative efficiency. Allocative efficiency describes a situation in which scarce resources are allocated in a way that maximizes social well-being, given society's resources endowment. In the production process, this is done so that the ratios of each input's marginal product to its piece are equal in all inputs. In the production of process, this is done so that the ratios of each input's marginal product to its piece are equal in all inputs. Okay, I understand that. I get the Hayek reference. Okay. I actually don't know if Hayek was first to point that thing out, but households are endowed with a fixed amount of time to allocate among various market and non-market, e.g. time spent in leisure, helping children with homework, uses. Households value both leisure time and the consumption of goods and services. By spending time less time in leisure activities, and correspondingly more time in market work. Households gain more resources to allocate to consumption. If, however, the return from work is reduced, because in the case of a physician, the fee is reduced, or for other families, public health insurance is withdrawn when household income increases, or a payroll tax decreases the return from work, public policies distort incentives to engage in market work. Both because redistributive effects of public policies are more readily understood by the public, and because they are often easier to quantify than are allocated distortions, the redistributive aspects of public policies often receive greater public notice. On the other hand, economists have strong theoretical framework for evaluating economic efficiency, much more so than assessing the adequacy of a particular income distribution. For this reason, economists tend to emphasize the efficiency aspects of public policies. Assessing equity and the equity efficiency trade-offs involve making value judgments and adopting assessment approaches, which economists tend to feel rather uncomfortable doing. Cringe. They should all read Harsanyi. Okay, they should all read Harsanyi and his utilitarian theorems. Okay, which are all based on decision theory. Okay. Cringe. I'm gonna write a blog post one day. It's gonna be called "More Economists Should Be Utilitarians." I'm tired of all these libertarian economists, bro, that have some type of libertarian or just deontological ethical theory, bro. Cringe. Much of the economic analysis, and the socialist economists who are egalitarian, obviously, much of the economic analysis in this book is concerned with efficiency rather than equity issues. Lack of emphasis does not reflect the belief that equity concerns are unimportant, just that we as economists do not believe that we have much to say about them. Although it is feasible to do this, technical efficiency is better judged by experts in specific technologies such as engineers than by economists. Government's role in correcting market failures. In the presence of externalities, asymmetric information, and supply-side imperfections such as barriers to entry, private markets in general, and competition in particular cannot achieve a socially optimal allocation of resources. In economic jargon, absent some type of government intervention, markets fail to achieve a social optimum. Well, government may cause distortions, a common allegation in political discourse. It may also correct distortions that occur absent government intervention. Externalities may be corrected by tax. Okay, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm familiar. Like that, I don't know if I need to read all the introduction. We're skimming through this a bit, but... Okay, I don't care about the structure of the book right now. Have you ever bumped into this song rendition before? Probably not. Incredible. Me, mom died in the holly, me, mom died in the holly. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm done with that. Not run into that before. Okay. I think we're good on the intro. We'll read. How long is chapter 2? Can we read the whole thing today? Yeah, maybe not the whole thing. Okay, hold on. It's up to page 69. We were on page like... We're on page 39. I guess that's not that bad. We'll read half of today. What was that? So that's 30 pages, right? Let's read 15. We can do that. Okay. Health and health behaviors. That's going to be basic stuff. Do I even need to read it? No, I think it's good to read. Okay. Being in good health is necessary, but not a sufficient condition for living a productive and long life. Productivity applies both to work and non-work activities. Although much of health economics is about supply and demand for personal health care services, the use of health services is derived from the fundamental objective of health promotion. Health services and health behavior are conceptualized as inputs into production function, with health being the output. Even though health is undoubtedly important to people, we all care about more than just being in good health. We value other possessions such as our houses, cars, cell phones, companionship, and feelings of self-worth. The consumption of goods, such as tobacco products, yields current pleasure, but is likely to have adverse health effects later in life. Thus, such consumption is a good for the individual, while the individual consuming it, but can be a bad in the long run. The consumption of some personal health services is unpleasant in the short run. Going to the physician or dentist involves both time and often inconvenience. And the receipt of some services can be unpleasant and even painful, but there may be benefits in the long run. Thus, for example, in deciding whether or not to undergo medical screening procedures such as a mammography, a procedure to detect breast cancer, or a colonoscopy, a procedure to detect colon cancer, a person is concerned not only about promoting current health, but about future health as well. Maintaining a normal weight may make one more attractive currently, as well as more physically fit, but maintaining normal weight today may also prevent the development of diabetes later in life. Thus, eating a slice of apple pie today may yield utility for several reasons in a current period, but the decision will also depend, to a lesser or greater degree, on the implications of eating pie today for one's future health. In economics, decisions made by individuals or households are analyzed as if a decision were maximizing his or her utility subject to constraints that limit how much utility can be achieved. On any given day, an individual may realize benefits in terms of being healthy at the time, engaging some unhealthy activities such as smoking and excess alcohol consumption, or eating a slice of apple pie with ice cream, rather than just an apple a day, which may indeed yield future health benefits, and living in an attractive and comfortable dwelling. Such consumption is limited by family income, prices paid by family members for goods and services consumed, the time available for market work and other activities, and other factors. The utility household members derived from consumption reflects individual wants and preferences. This chapter begins with conceptual discussions of rationality and forward-looking behavior, health production functions, the demand for health services, and health behaviors as derived demands. We then describe decision trees about the process of backwards induction and apply the concepts to the decisions about whether or not to engage in preventative care. These tools are useful for analyzing any problem in which the outcomes of decisions are uncertain. Future. This is why you should be utilitarians, bro. What is this refusal to comment on normative claims, bro? Anyway, okay. Future outcomes are unknown when these choices are made. Next, we discuss a general framework used in many economic studies about consumer choice in relation to specific health behaviors, followed by a discussion of empirical findings on several consumer choices: food consumption and physical exercise, cigarette and alcohol consumption, and the use of preventative care. The traditional economic framework commonly used in microeconomics to assess the impacts on household decisions of various changes that are outside the control of households has been challenged by a new economic subfield, behavioral economics. We discussed the behavioral economics critique of traditional neoclassical economics and the empirical evidence the critics cite to advance their arguments. The critique raises several fundamental questions, such as: are people forward-looking and myopic? Are choices people make rational or irrational, i.e. influenced by cues, such as seeing someone else enjoying a cigarette? And on discounting, do short-term discount rates differ from long-term rates? Some argue that short-term rates are higher than long-term rates. A higher rate means that one is more present-oriented than if the discount rate is comparatively low. The final section summarizes the chapter's key points. Oh boy, can't wait for the behavioral economics critiques, bro. In fairness, I would imagine healthcare is going to be the area where they're going to apply the most. So, a major feature of healthcare is that decisions one makes today affect health not only currently, but in the future as well. I'm pretty sure I can understand that without reading that box. Economics generally assumes that people are rational and forward-looking. By rational, economists mean that in weighing choices, individuals use all relevant information available to them in a way that benefits the cost of specific choices based on this information. Rationality does not require that a person be omniscient, able to accurately predict outcomes of each choice. Various events are likely to occur subsequently that may have important effects on outcomes. For example, the decision whether or not to attend college is largely made several years in advance, particularly since it is necessary to take college preparatory courses. The decision to attend college typically reflects comparisons of future earnings, non-pecuniary, non-monetary returns, the cost of attending college, and other factors. However, after the decision is made, ill health, war, or unemployment of a parent may affect whether or not the planned decision is actually realized. Rationality does not require that individuals be able to forecast all events that may intervene. In fact, these events are uncertain. For example, actual entry into college will depend on actual realizations of these events. By forward-looking, economists mean that individuals consider not only the present costs and benefits of choices, but future ones as well. For example, in deciding whether or not to have a knee replacement, the individual will consider current benefits such as reduction in pain and improved mobility, and also future ones such as the length of time to replacement. Artificial joints, like natural joints, depreciate over time. Economists assume that from today's vantage point, a dollar benefit or cost today is worth more than a dollar of benefit accrued or spent tomorrow. The trade-off between today and tomorrow reflects an individual's time preference. Let R be the rate of the individual's time preference, then a dollar received tomorrow is worth only $1 over 1 plus R today. 1 is greater than R, and R is greater than or equal to 0. A person may be forward-looking but impatient. Then he or she has a high R, and conversely, a more patient person. What's up, Tron? My wife super regrets her knee surgery. Like they're saying, okay, the outcomes are uncertain. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure knee surgery is like one of the highest regret rates. I hear that a lot in the fucking trans surgery arguments. It's like knee surgery is like a way higher regret rate than any of the trans surgery shit. Although decisions one makes about one's health today have implications for one's tomorrow health, another major distinguishing feature of health and healthcare is that decisions are often, if not typically, made under uncertainty. People eat delicious desserts, consume alcohol, smoke cigarettes, go to a physician for annual physical examination, and follow physician's advice, all without knowing how these choices will actually affect personal health and well-being. Months of pain and suffering and only slight improvement, yeah. The vast majority of people who smoke cigarettes do not get lung cancer or have a heart attack. Smoking only increases the probability of experiencing these adverse health outcomes. It is possible to know averages, but there is substantial variation about the averages for several reasons, including genetic and environmental factors and interactions among various health behaviors. As an example of interaction, not only does smoking make it more difficult to jog, but the mean probability of getting lung cancer possibly differs between jogging and non-jogging smokers in ways that are not even fully understood by medical experts. Economists' assumptions may seem implausible, and admittedly, they often are. In the context of health and healthcare, an objection to the rationality assumption is that if people use the best information they have, this may not be good enough. After all, one reason for visiting a physician is to obtain information about prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of disease. There is asymmetric information between the physicians and the patient. If the physician acts in the patient's best interest, that is, in economic terminology, if the physician is a perfect agent for the principle. In this case, the well-informed physician-patient team can make a decision as fully informed as a fully informed patient would. However, if the physician has interest of his or her own, the rationality assumption may not hold. Economists typically defend their assumptions in the following ways. in the following way. Assumptions are made to make economic models more tractable and yield predictions which can be tested empirically. The assumptions are a building block and a means to an end, not an end in itself. However, in recent years, even economists have begun to challenge the traditional assumptions, and a new field, behavioral economics, is gaining in popularity. We have more to say about behavioral economics below. Health production functions. The concept. Production function relates inputs to outputs. It's a technical relationship, for example, describing the relationship between the dose of a drug administered to a patient and the resulting health outcome. Production functions are used in economic analysis, but estimating relationships between inputs and outputs is largely the task of scientists, engineers, and other analysts, although economists are also estimate production functions. Can't speak. A production function is expressed as output is equal to the function of input. I don't know how to pronounce these variables. Input 1, input 2, and input C. Or that's a... Yeah, there you go. That's not input. Never mind. In equation 2.1, output is the quantity of output I produced in a given period by the... How am I supposed to... They're going to just use numbers? The jth... the jth individual. And input 1 and input 2 are two input quantities used by person J to produce the output. See, like, I don't know how to pronounce subscript IJ. I'm going to pronounce it like an AI, okay? I'm just going to say subscript IJ, all right? Or would it, I mean, there's got to be, there's definitely a way that you're supposed to pronounce it. But the function f reflects a specific technology translating inputs into outputs. In a health context, we can take an example, a person who has been diagnosed with high blood pressure, hypertension. Input 1, subscript I, subscript J. It's the number of meals a person J eats in a time period, say a year, during which the person adheres to a salt-free diet. Input 2 is the number of days during the year in which J takes antihypertensive medication. The variable Z represents individual J genetic makeup, which does not vary over time. The semicolon in front of the term indicates that Z is exogenous to the decision maker, that is, outside the decision maker's control. By contrast, the input are decisions. Hold on. Inputs are decision variables assumed to be endogenous within the decision maker's control. Any more colors? I can make it a underline. It is unironically a sub IJ. That can't be. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I would, no shot. It can't be impossible. There's got to be a like if a professor was teaching it, would he actually say that? I guess it makes sense. I feel like I've actually heard people do that before. So output sub IJ, input 1 sub IJ, and input 2 sub IJ represent flows, rates of output per unit of time, such as days during the year, on which the person has a normal blood pressure reading, number of days on which person J takes medications for hypertension, and so on. Blood pressure is a concern, not because it is that important on its own, but rather because persons with uncontrolled blood pressure are subject to a high probability of acquiring specific chronic diseases, such as heart attacks and heart failure, stroke, kidney failure, or death. Therefore, for example, in a more complex model, output Saba IJ for person J in various years may be inputs, and the presence of heart disease or mortality may be its outputs. Okay, health stocks and flows. There's an important distinction between stocks and flows. A stock represents a quantity at a specific point in time. A flow represents a rate between two time periods. Whoa. For example, on January 1st of a year, households have a specific amount of wealth, which is stock. This stock generates a flow of income per day, per month, per year. The number of cars a manufacturer has is in his inventory is a stock, but the number of cars produced per hour is a flow. Likewise, a family possesses a certain number of automobiles on a date, a stock. This stock generates a specific amount of transportation services per day, per month, per year, or year. In this sense, personal health on a given day represents the stock of capital. The corresponding flow is a healthy day, or a day during which a person can perform his or her usual activities. The number of days in a month one has high blood pressure is a flow. The number of days in a month a person jogs. As is. However, we know that consistently high blood pressure and many days of inactivity can adversely affect health, heart health, which is the stock. The demand for health is a capital stock. Wow. Oh wait, that has to do with the fucking box up here, doesn't it? Okay. Evolution of a person's health over time. As first conceptualized by Michael Grossman, 1972, a person's general state of health corresponds to the person's health capital. The stock of health capital yields a flow of healthy days per unit of time. Since we consider health in the aggregate rather than a particular aspect of health, we drop subscript I, and for simplicity, we also suppress subscript J, although we continue to describe the health of one individual. However, since the individual's health varies over time, we include a subscript for T, which may be a year or a shorter or longer time period. The relationship between a person's health stock, H sub T, and his or her health flow, H sub T, lowercase h. How do I pronounce that? Per unit of time, T is given by H sub T is equal to a function of capital H sub T. The relationship between H sub T and capital H sub T is positive. A higher health stock in period T yields a higher flow of healthy days. Okay. Healthy days and other goods and services are valued by consumers. The number of healthy days and the consumption of other goods and services are linked. If a person loses time from work because of an illness, earnings fall. And since there is no savings in Grossman's model, when family income falls, so does the consumption of other goods and services. People invest in their own health by utilizing personal care healthcare services. Although other health inputs, including health behaviors such as smoking and exercising, also affect H sub T. To keep analysis tractable, we ignore this complication for now. Health services is use as a flow. In Grossman's framework, the use of health services represents a gross health investment by an individual. Gross investment is distinguished from a net investment in that the latter incorporates a depreciation of the health stock during a period T. Net investment is gross investment less depreciation. In this context, a person's health deteriorates or depreciates each period at a depreciation rate of what Greek letter is that? Is that sigma, bro? Lowercase delta? I'm familiar with the regular delta. Okay, I'm going to say delta for now, but they're definitely going to bring a capital delta in later. It's going to fuck with me. Just as any item, a plant or equipment depreciates. Knees wear out just as car engines do. Hello? That is Sigma? No shot, I got that right. I should never doubt myself. LL, you didn't go Greek? I did not ever, you might know the alphabet. Oh, I mean, I recognize, like, apparently I was able to recognize that as Sigma. Okay. Like, I recognize, like, you know, I did recognize, like I know delta, right? And that's used to represent, like, change. So I know shit like that. Oh, it's a squiggle, well, here. Squiggle up with a line to the right. It's, looks like it's squiggle up to me. But Google didn't say Sigma. Google said lowercase delta. Or if that is small delta, yeah. Damn. Never mind then. Never mind then. Yeah, it's delta. Fuck. Wait, how do I say delta for that? Or do I say lowercase delta? Not that it really matters, because I'm streaming to 5 people right now, but... The depreciation rate is assumed to be fixed at some value that is outside the decision maker's control. That is, it is exogenous to the decision maker. The depreciation rate not only varies among individuals, just delta low, okay, among individuals, but what if there's a capital delta too? But for a given individual varies over time. For now, consider only one individual, suppressing the subscript J, and let the depreciation rate be time irrelevant. Sorry, invariant. The depreciation rate parameter delta is not affected by the person's healthcare decisions. Let's say the person's rate of gross investment in health be I subscript T, where T is a time period, so it's a year. The individual's health stock evolves over time according to... What's up, Tycho Johnson? I see math on screen. Fuck, it's not really... It's like an equation. There's no actual numbers yet. And it's... I mean, it's just... You would like really need math to describe. No, I'm not calling you stupid. like you can just follow. Like even without the math, like you can just follow. Because like everyone, I guess not everyone. Okay, there are retards out there. This is like how people like internally make their own decisions. They don't actually like draw an equation like this, obviously, but like you just track like obviously like you know you make these considerations over like how much to quote unquote invest in healthcare or any good or service that you consume really versus how much it'll benefit you later on and how much you know your knee replacement might depreciate over time. Because I am not, but I don't want to be called, oh sorry, because I am, but I don't want to be called that. Valid. Okay, equation 2.3 states that a person's health at time t equals the amount the person invested in health in time t minus 1 plus that part of the previous period's health stock that did not depreciate between periods t minus 1 and t. The function g period see now I don't know how to pronounce that for gross investment is okay well I subscript T minus 1. When I see G here, usually I just say like try to pronounce it as function again. That's just a different variable for the function, right? How do you invest in healthcare when you've dumped it all into strippers? Well, clearly you're making a rational decision that you just value, you know, the consumption of strippers now over the long-term investment in your health. Okay, you value the stock of stripper now over the flow of consuming more good years in good health later on. Apparently, probably not a rational decision, but those girls got to get an education. This is true. Watch the stripper index, bro. Everyone's just on OnlyFans now. It's just because people move to OnlyFans, bro. Okay. where M sub T minus 1 represents the amount of medical care utilized in a period here in T minus 1 and T. Do I say it to the power of H? Or do I say super H? T super H is the amount of time the person spends obtaining medical care. This includes the time spent on getting to the doctor, waiting for the doctor, and following the regimen prescribed by the doctor, such as taking prescribed medicines. Have you seen that as seemed rational? Seemed past tense. What's up, Ghost is Anonymous? Trump 2028, strippers get a free, tax-free income now here. This is true. 2 to the power of H. TH. What? It's just it's capital H. There's no... I want a tax deduction for going to strip clubs. Can we count stripper donations as charitable donations? Okay, can we get a tax credit for this? Do strippers benefit from no tax on tips? I would assume that they are not included because they gave a list of professions. But I wonder if like they listed like entertainer or something, and like maybe strippers can just like get themselves classified as that. Well, there's something actually not safe for work here, right? Yeah. Ours is not including illegal activity, prostitution, and pornography. Does no tax and tips apply to tips for shipping? And I think the answer is yes. The term qualified tips means cash tips received by an individual in occupation, which customarily and regularly receives tips on or before December 31st, 2024. That obviously applies to stripping, as provided by the Secretary. A proposed list of occupations. Dancers, okay. Perform dancers. Club dancer. Dance artist. Holy shit. Related standard occupational classification system codes, okay. Oh wait. 27 to 031. So we look at that 27 oh wait, yeah, 27 dash, I guess, 2031 code, and we see exotic dancers. So I think there's a strong argument that strippers are eligible for the no tax on tips. But be aware of proposed regulation that just bans pornography. Holy shit. Donald Trump actually king of the strippers. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, like, exotic dancer, bro. Perform dancer, club dancer. I mean, come on. That includes fucking strippers, bro. One of those things includes strippers. But you gotta be wearing clothes covering at least 15%. Yeah, you can't, like, it's gotta be non-pornographic, okay? So it's gotta be, I don't know how they define pornography. Like, does anything IRL count as pornography? I'd have to imagine at some point it would become a little more than exotic dancing. So probably gotta be wearing something. Okay, where were we? Okay, gross investment. I sub t can never be negative, but h sub t is larger or smaller than h sub t minus 1, depending on the amount of gross investment in period t minus 1 and the depreciation rate. Low gross investment or high depreciation rate can lead to a decline in health. Well, demand for health and medical care. Wait, how long did I... Wait, maybe we can't get through this today. It's not that long. And a lot of it is fucking boxes. No, I don't know if we'll get through it today. Okay. We'll read the page 54 technically. I think we'll stop here, but I don't think I care about most of the boxes. So the health production function depicts a technical relationship between health output and medical services and health behaviors, the inputs. The production function does not describe decisions, only the technical possibility of translating inputs into outputs. Demand for medical care is derived from the person's demand for health. In the general literature on investment, the optimal capital stock is the amount at which the cost of capital equals the marginal efficiency of capital. Figure 2.1, the MAC reflects the percentage increase in... Yeah, I'm broadly familiar. What's this about? Are you studying for your econ 101 class? Well, welcome back, 7. But no, I'm reading. Well, I think because of the ACA stuff, like the healthcare stuff is being repealed. I think health economics is just area I just want to know more about for the future. So that's somewhat of the motivation behind doing it now. MEC reflects the percentage increase in output made possible by adding another unit of capital, all expressed in value, dollar terms. To help understand, hold on, I keep underlying the concept of MEC. Suppose an investment, yeah, I've read Keynes. Suppose the investment of $100 yields an additional output valued at $3 per year, then the MEC would increase in value of the annual output per $100 of investment, or 0.03. The MEC schedule has a negative slope since the decision maker is assumed to rank its potential investments from highest to lowest in terms of their expected return per dollar of investment. The cost of capital represents the amount per time period, such as year, investors required to supply $100 of capital funds to the borrower. The borrower will not want to pay more than 3% per year period for funds that yield 3%. Thus, the equilibrium capital stock the firm will want to hold is at the level of capital at which the rate of return, or MEC, equals the cost of capital. In figure 2.1, capital stock is on the x-axis. I guess I might... I'll just do this then. Capital stock is on the x-axis, and the cost of capital and MEC on the y-axis. Whoa, the graph. Investment moves the capital stock to the right along the x-axis, the ultimate decision about how much capital to hold. Investment is the way of achieving this end. When an asset depreciates or appreciates over time, the cost of capital equals the sum of 1, the cost of obtaining the dollar, a dollar of capital for a period, say a year, at rate I, 2, the depreciation rate on the capital stock at delta, and 3, the appreciation rate of a unit of capital at A. A dollar of, what is this? Oh boy. In general, the amount allowed as a deduction under the section for any taxable year shall not exceed $25,000. Yeah, it's a no tax and tips thing. Limitation based on adjusted gross income. A, in general, the amount allowable as a deduction under subsection A after application of paragraph 1 shall be reduced, but not below 0 by 1,000 for each $1,000, which is tax rate modified, adjusted. Yeah, I mean, that's what that's how they... that's partly how they're trying to get around any like avoidance issues, or like I don't know if is it avoidance or evasion? That's the right term there. Where, like, you know, you can imagine a lawyer who makes $600,000 a year trying to classify some of his money as tips or whatever, right? One, they're trying to, you know, they say, oh, the occupation had to actually receive tips before the date came into law, like customarily, like traditionally. And then two, they limit it to the $25,000 deduction because, you know, we don't want any, well, I guess they just don't want it to be super aggressive generally, but they don't want people playing those games with classifying certain money as tips. You know, they by the way, content creators, like internet people, like, are allowed to claim a lot of the money as tips. Now, like, I don't know, like, if you could claim like a Twitch Prime sub, like that income as a tip, but like 100%, like, I mean, if you type in !TTS in a chat, right, like it'll give you a link that like literally says tips, right? Like, it's Streamlabs tips. Okay, Streamlabs did us a big favor by calling them tips and not donations. All right, like certainly that money is tax deductible. Not like, I don't, to be clear, I don't make nearly enough such that it would be like I can even take the no tax and tips deduction as opposed to just the standard deduction, right? Or even, you know, I don't even know like what I'm still dependent, right? And I made like I did the math, like Ola last year I made like $3,600 in total from streaming. That's just revenue, right? I mean, it's still, I don't have like a company or LLC or anything, right? So it's personal revenue. What's up, Chipingo? Baller, for real. It, like, technically, like, it probably would benefit me, like, tax-wise, to have like a LLC. I couldn't make one. I think you only need like $600 or something in revenue to make one or whatever. It'd probably not be worth it right now or anything, but it probably technically would be worth it to do it. I could definitely. I don't think I'd have any like tax burden because I don't think I would. I think it's probably technically a loss. I think if I it isn't really a stretch to say like my computer is like a business expense, because like technically, yeah, like I have to have the computer to stream, and like obviously upgrading my computer improves the stream and stuff and the video editing stuff and the Photoshop thumbnail stuff and everything. But like obviously, maybe I shouldn't be saying this if the IRS is watching, but like I use it a lot more to like play games and do other shit than to stream. So, you know, although technically I could definitely write stuff like the microphone, the second phone that I bought for like the IRL streams and stuff, and my computer are off. The amount of money I make now wouldn't be worth it, and also I don't know the full the full legality of like writing my computer off, like I said, but I bet I would get away with it. But I'm a good boy. I would never. I love paying taxes. Okay, a dollar of capital can come from borrowing, issuing debt, from issuing stock in one's company, or from an internal funds. Roughly speaking, the cost of debt capital is the interest rate. The cost of issuing equity depends on dividends to be paid, to the cost of diluting ownership and control in a company when issuing stock, and the opportunity cost is the cost of internal funds when the investment is financed by internal funds. All these costs are in I. Depreciation is also a cost of holding an investment good for a period. For example, if one operates a rental car business, the cost of capital is higher if the rate of depreciation on cars into fleets is higher, holding other factors constant. Finally, the appreciation rate on the investment good is an offsetting factor. For example, a car may depreciate, but if car prices are rising, the latter is an offset to the former. Before turning to health and medical care, it is useful to discuss an example from another context to illustrate the general principle. Suppose you own a car rental business. The decision on how many cars to own for rental is how many cars to own for rental purposes. You can borrow at a rate of 5% at a 5% interest rate. The cars depreciate at a rate of 25% per year, and the general annual rate of inflation in car prices is 3%. Then the cost of capital is 27%. You stop adding your fleet to cars at the point at which the rate of return on rental cars declines at 27%. Whoa. Once you decide how many cars you wish to own, you buy or sell cars to achieve the optimal number of cars in your fleet. The rate of return on cars reflects the revenue obtained from each car for the year, expenses on maintenance and upkeep, and the labor and other costs of renting out the cars. If the rental prices increase, the rate of return increases. If the wage on your mechanics increases, the rate of return decreases. If crime in the neighborhood increases, necessitating hiring more guards for the company's parking lot, the rate of return decreases. One reason the MMC curve is downward sloping is that the demand curve for rental cars facing the firm is downward sloping. Perhaps there are diseconomies of scale in car rentals as well, especially at a single location. The cost of capital as applied to health decisions is both similar and different from the cost as it applies to a company's investment decisions. Clearly, an individual does not issue stock for the purpose of making investments in his or her personal health. However, the person may draw upon personal savings or borrow money from a bank to finance a stay in a hospital. Health capital depreciates. These can become arthritic. Can't speak. Replacements for natural needs also depreciate over time and eventually may need to be replaced. Likewise, there is appreciation in medical prices. If the price of a knee replacement is expected to double, a person would benefit from having this procedure may decide to obtain it sooner. In a health context, you as an investor can only buy, not sell, health assets. Capital stock is reduced through depreciation, which occurs over time. The cost of capital schedule may be horizontal or positively sloped. If the latter, this means that the cost of capital rises with the amount of capital goods purchased. For simplicity, we draw the cost of capital with a zero slope. The MEC of health depends on how a unit of investment affects the health stock. The variable cost of maintaining the stock, analogously painting a house periodically to keep up its appearance, the productivity of investments in health capital, and the value of the individual attaches to a one-unit change in health. Value depends on the individual's preferences. People differ in how much they value health, just as they differ in how much they value housing, transportation, and other goods and services. There are likely to be important differences in the production of health investment, productivity of health investments, among individuals as well. For example, people may differ in their understanding of their physician's advice for positive post-operative care. The MEC, marginal efficiency of investment, a concept from macroeconomics and yes, I've read Keynes, is the rate of return on a unit of capital. In evaluating capital projects, one expects a decision maker to rank order projects in terms of their prospective rates of return from highest to lowest rates of return. Thus, the MMC schedule has a negative slope. The optimal capital stock for the company, or in our context, the optimal amount of health capital an individual desires to hold in a specific period of time, is determined by where the cost of capital and the MMC is equal. Intuitively, if the cost of capital is 5% and the MMC is 8%, the company can increase its profits if it adds to capital stocks, and conversely, if the MMC is only 3%, and conversely, if the MMC is only 3%. Investment in our context, the consumption of personal healthcare services and the time associated with such consumption are a mean towards an end, having the optimal amount of health capital. Shifts in the cost of capital and MMC schedules change the optimal capital stock for an individual. Let's consider an increase in the cost of capital stemming from an increase in a person's depreciation rate. Suppose the individual is unexpectedly diagnosed with cancer, or we are comparing an elderly individual with a high depreciation rate with a student in their early 20s with a low depreciation rate. A high depreciation rate, holding other factors constant, implies a lower desired healthcare stock. Now consider a shift in the MMC schedule. Okay. I like the old example, whatever. Okay, an increase in input productivity, e.g. in the effect of an extra visit to a physician or for consultation of personal health, raises the rate of return and hence shifts the MMC schedule to the right. For example, consider the knee replacement a better device, one that lasts longer or works better, has a higher rate of return, thus the MMC shifts upward for this reason. And the health stock and investment, including artificial knees, rise. Conversely, an increase in the price of an input used to produce a unit of capital, such as the artificial knee, shifts the MMC schedule to the left. Since capital is made by investment, the amount of investment per period declines as well. Conceptually, an increase in the value of the individual places, on being in good health relative to the value he or she places on flows from other composite goods also shifts the MMC schedule upward, resulting in more gross investment in health. Another factor shifting the MMC schedule rightward is an increase in the returns on investment in health capital. The health flow may become more highly valued either because it increase in utility of a healthy day, or with the caveat noted below, because an increase in the return from market work, the person's wage, since more healthy time allows higher earnings to accrue from market work. The reason this is my new argument. Okay, the reason the U.S. spends so much in healthcare is simply because, and the causality here is probably a little reverse, but it's because we value our health flows so much higher than other countries, because the potential to earn in the U.S. is higher than in other European countries. That probably is, unironically, at least a little bit true. Although I think it's probably a bigger factor that just having a higher income means you can, you want to buy more healthcare. Like it's a normal good. You demand more healthcare as your income goes up. It's probably not. I don't know how you would test the causality either way there, but I would guess it's more the latter, not the health flow thing. Predictions on the Grossman model. The Grossman investment model offers several predictions about the effects of changes that are exogenous to households on health capital and health investment. A reduction in the price of medical care. Consider the effect of reduction in the price of medical care. The individual consumer cannot influence the price of medical care. He or she is a price taker in this market. The price reduction has two effects. It will lead to the substitution of medical care for other health inputs, such as self-care, or the purchase and use of over-the-counter medicines. And it's just the MMC to the right, which leads to the person to want to hold more health capital and demand more medical care for this reason as well. Thus, the model predicts that a decrease in prices lead to the greater use of medical care and improved personal health. An increase in an individual's wage rate. An increase in a person's wage rate has two effects on medical care use and health capital. The higher wage increases the opportunity cost of time, in a sense making it more expensive to visit a physician. For this reason, an increase in wage affects health investment and health capital in the same way an increase in the price of medical care does. But in addition, an increase in wage raises the return. The individual, this is my point, the return on a healthy day. The return on a healthy day, since the individual can earn more in a day when he or she is able to work. The latter effect tends to increase demand for health capital and health investment. Thus, a change in an individual's wage has an ambiguous effect on a person's medical care use and health capital. Now consider the effects of a person's age on medical care. In medical care use and health, in the Grossman model, the rate of depreciation of health stock increases with the age. This is a plausible assumption. For example, agility decreases with age at a higher rate than at a lower age. An increase in the depreciation reduces the amount of health capital at the individual's desire to hold, which other factors held constant reduces demand for medical care, but an increase in delta, I guess, also decreases age directly. See equation 2.2. Thus, even though the desired health stock is lower, absent some increased investment, H may be below its optimal level. This leads to increased demand for medical care. Although the individual's optimal age decreases with age, older persons use more medical care, a pattern observed in empirical studies. Death occurs in a Grossman model when the individual's health stock declines below a minimum level, H subscript D, say below H2 and sub 2, figure 2.2. Increase in an individual's educational attainment. On average, persons who have completed more years of schooling are in better health. By contrast, the pattern of medical care used by educational attainment is less clear. Grossman argued that education increases the productivity of investments in health. The more educated person is more likely to be sensitive to signs and symptoms of illness and visit a doctor sooner in cases in which medical care is likely to be productive. If treatment is initiated earlier, it may be more productive in improving health. Also, more highly educated individuals may be better in understanding the physician's diagnosis and recommending treatments. For these reasons, we would expect the MHC schedule to shift to the right when the person has completed more years of schooling. More highly educated persons should be healthier for this reason, but the effect of education and medical care is less clear since health inputs may be more productive for more highly educated persons. Hence, less medical care is needed to produce a given level of health. Education also affects the wage rate, but Grossman accounted for their wage effects separately. Okay, what is this? Do I care about this box? I don't think so. All right. It's not, I don't think there's anything I can do quickly. I don't know if I... Yeah, okay. Don't know that now, at least on stream. I might read some of it off stream, honestly. But yeah. I think that's all I got planned for today. I should be streaming again tomorrow. Never trust when I say that, but hopefully. Well, on YouTube, I guess. Head over to, well, I guess Food Shops. He's talking to Ryan Getty right now, apparently. So that'll be something. GG, true. On Twitch, do I have any? Is it worth doing anything? You'd be lying to chat sometimes. I don't. You know, it's not because I intend to. It's just because I'm just like crazy. I'm just really eepy. Okay, I did sleep for like over. Definitely like way over 12 hours one day. I don't actually know exactly when I went to sleep because I was like scrolling reels before I went to bed, and I don't exactly know when I for real woke up because there were like the times I woke up. But the day the Venezuelan president was captured, I slept through all of that. I went to bed at I was in bed at 8 p.m. I don't think I went to bed for real until like probably 10 p.m. and then I didn't get up until like it was all over until like I think like basically noon. So yeah, like 1 p.m. But yeah, okay, well, head over to Irrelevant on Twitch and you're heading over to Food Shops on YouTube. I love streaming. Love to guys watching you guys stream. It's really cool that I get to talk to y'all, react to some Jubilee slop. I'm gonna go edit and read, and yeah, I don't think I have anything super hardcore planned. Like I said, 2 weeks from now or whatever, the week of the 12th, one day that week, I'll be talking to Ryan Malay about the utilitarianism and stuff. Other than that, we're gonna be chilling and reading and reacting to random bullshit. So join the Discord server, subscribe. Good night, people. See you later. Love ya.